Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Payoff.
Welcome to an all-new episode of The Payoff. I'm Tom. That's Jeff. Episode 307. Still going strong, Jeff.
Just trucking along, man. Yep, doing our thing.
And I say this all the time, but it's like I look at our list of upcoming matches and there's no end in sight. I mean, there's just so many matches to cover, so many hidden gems, classic matches, things that you don't remember ever happening. You've got ECW, WWE, WCW, TNA, New Japan, FMW. I don't know if we've ever covered a AAA match. Maybe with WWE buying AAA, we'll find like a AAA classic. I mean, just so much to cover. And this is going to be a fun one because two of the all-time greats, two guys that are on some people's Mount Rushmores, and if they're not on there, they're the next four in line. Macho Man and Ric Flair. So how did this match hit your radar?
Yeah, this was just the I guess a seasonal one, if you will. Kind of when it was taking place was we're kind of on an anniversary of this one, looking at 30 years. And so just kind of crazy, like these matches going back that far, the 30 years this month. And so, it's kind of no reason other than why not, type thing. Like we're dealing with the seasonality of it, but then also like it's Randy Savage and Ric Flair. They've had a lot of good matches and this is one of them.
I'm pumped to cover it, man. This will be a good one.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, let's get into the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
We're in Dayton, Ohio.
Sure.
The Hera Arena.
Which hub of activity. Yeah.
So this is the university, or it was. No, this is just like a minor. So this isn't the Nutter Center that WWE held events at. This is just a small little 5,500 seat arena. It's a suburb of Dayton. Built. It began as a ballroom in 1957. It's been closed since 2016. Minor league hockey and basketball. So tiny little arena. We'll see how it shows up on TV, but not great, I bet. So Great American Bash 1995. All right. We had three dark matches. Harlem Heat defeats
in Dayton.
Harlem Heat defeats Bobby Fulton and Tommy Rogers. Craig Pittman defeats Scott D'Amore. That's Scott D'Amore. Little trivia there.
Okay.
And and then Dick Slater and Bunkhouse Buck are going to defeat Frankie Lancaster and Barry Houston. What was your favorite Frankie Lancaster match of all time?
I'm gonna have to go back and kind of think about it a little bit here. Yeah, but I'll let you know next week.
Also, at one point known as Headhunter Adonis, Heartbreaker Adonis, The Thumper, and Frank Lang, 64 years old, born in Tampa, Florida, was in Mid-South Wrestling.
And never cracked the top 200 of PWI.
Had a cup of coffee in WWF. Him and his tag team partner lost to the Bushwhackers on Wrestling Challenge in 1992. He lost a match to Razor Ramon. So kind of I clicked on this as a joke, but hell, this guy had like a good 10-year run as a jobber in WWF and WCW. So you never know.
Yeah, wow. Crazy.
All right. So we start off, Alex Wright defeats Brian Pillman in a 15-minute match. We had an arm wrestling contest between Dave Sullivan and Diamond Dallas Page. Jim Duggan is going to defeat,
man, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Jim Duggan is going to defeat Craig Pittman, who was working double duty, by DQ in 8 minutes. Harlem Heat, so they had like a dark match, and then Harlem Heat's going to defeat Dick Slater and Bunkhouse Buck in an 8-minute tag match. The Renegade, which was the Ultimate Warrior knockoff, is going to defeat Arn Anderson to win the WCW TV title in 9 minutes. The Nasty Boys are going to retain their WCW World Tag Team Championships at a 15-minute match over the Blue Bloods. Sting is going to defeat Meng to win the vacant U.S. Championship. And then the reason we're here, Flair and Savage. Just looking through some of the ratings, not great, bud. The Alex Wright Pillman match was well received, and then the main event was well received. But a couple duds. Renegade actually got -1/4 of a star, if you can believe that.
Yeah, some of this bunch of duds on this one. Yeah, really weird.
So, how did we get to these two? Obviously, we had our WWF feud. And WCW was certainly repurposing many of the things that had previously occurred in WWF. So how do we get to this one?
Yeah, so we're June 1995 is when this show is taking place. We'll go back a little bit here that you had Randy Savage actually joining WCW in late 1994 after leaving the WWE/F. Aligned with Hulk Hogan pretty quick, actually, at this point. Both guys being baby faces. And then, of course, Flair had been feuding with Hogan since Hogan debuted in 99. So both guys, or 94, excuse me. So, it kind of intertwined right out of the gate, which makes sense. These two also had a history dating back to their WWF days, particularly their feud from WrestleMania 8 in 1992. Over Miss Elizabeth, so there was a lot of history there. He was in one of Ric Flair's many retirements, but he had a retirement after losing a career match to Hogan at Halloween Havoc in 94, but he was, of course, still kept on TV. Crazy to think. Did you know that Ric Flair retired in 1994? Never wrestled another one after that, but there you go. Huh. So, yeah, okay. What a world. Anyways, so, and of course, this one was really the main catalyst for this feud was when Ric Flair attacked Randy Savage's father, Angelo Poffo. It's Slamboree 1995. He put him in a figure 4 leg lock after he had inducted him into the WCW Hall of Fame. Giant heel heat, nuclear heat, just really good stuff. And so kind of his dad, but also at the same time, like Savage kind of getting emotional, kind of unstable, still a baby face, but kind of getting to be a little, probably crossing the streams, if you will, a little bit from the real world, and how he was a little crazy sometimes into the character and kind of adding a little bit of that instability to it. So, of course, Flair being Flair, he's just a heel. He should always be a heel forever and ever, and that's what we get. So, yeah, so kind of attacking his dad. That's when you see the older gentleman kind of, if they cut to him or kind of walking up the ring or walking up the ramp, that is his dad. So, yeah, just kind of hatred for each other. You don't need more than that sometimes.
All right. Let's get into this one. 218, Great American Bash 1995. Are you ready?
I am ready. Let's go.
It's time for the payoff.
Oh, it's time for the payoff.
Live and in person in front of his father. Rick, be afraid. Be afraid of this man. Something bad's going to happen here. All right.
I mean, you got Heenan on commentary. You got Savage and Flair. Savage's dad's here. I mean, what's not to love about this? Savage's dad even wearing similar colors to Macho Man.
He's got him in a dining hall chair. We're sitting ringside. Hooters girl. Okay, that works.
Okay, so one thing that's interesting. So Macho's outfits over the years, he wore the tights, and then he switched to long pants and like if you remember in WWF, he wore like a tank top.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Bruce Pritchard has said, yeah, he was just insecure about his physique as he got older. And for most of WCW, he wore that too. But interestingly enough, in this match, he's not wearing one. He's just, so I don't know. I don't know how long
here, yeah,
he looks fine, but he looked fine, in WWF too, but he was covering his body up. So I think he mostly wore that tank top in WCW as well, but yeah, just caught my eye. All right. So
Savage the aggressor, yeah.
Up on top, the Macho Man, vintage Macho Man Randy Savage.
All right, we got a hot start here. All right, so the history of these two guys. First big match they ever had was WrestleMania 8.
Mm-hmm.
Great match. Great story. Place went nuts. Savage, after years without the title, wins it again. It's awesome. Then we had that weird match where Flair got the title back from Savage in September of 1992. And then Flair quickly lost it to Bret Hart. And none of this was like on major TV at all. It was just odd.
Yep.
And then we get, this is their first match in WCW. So this reignites their feud. They'd go on to wrestle in July, in December, in January, in February. And they were part of that awful Doomsday Cage match in March of 96. They wrestled in June of 96. They wrestled on a New Japan show in July of 1996. So they wrestled on TV almost every month, beginning with this match for the next year.
Mm-hmm.
Flair, double axe handle off the apron. That's not something you see very often.
Both competitors. Track record. Very storied history of both men.
11 times.
Flair playing up the heel angle on this. Yep.
Saw interesting debate, and of course, tribalism and professional wrestling on the internet. What's new? But big argument over, was CM Punk better in AEW or WWE? And I don't know. There was maybe a month or so ago. He had that just monster entrance at the end of Raw where the place went batshit crazy. And here's the thing. CM Punk was awesome in WWE before they had their falling out. CM Punk was awesome in AEW when he came back. CM Punk's been awesome in WWE since he came. So this idea of like, he sucks in No, he's awesome in WWE right now. And he was really, really good in AEW too. And he was really good for his entire career. Some of these arguments, Jeff, they just make your head explode. Like everything the guy's done, his entire career has been great. He's one of my favorites. I mean, of guys that are of this era, like of whatever, the 2010 and on era. I mean, he's probably my favorite. In fact, he is my favorite. But I just, how do you look at him and be, his AEW stuff sucked. His stuff now is terrible. No, it's all fantastic. Am I crazy with that?
No, I like, this is like, you just can't please everybody, and all those everybody's are CM Punk fans or not. Like, it's the only thing, like, even like, and you and I follow college sports quite a bit, like, and we have our moments, like, as a Michigan fan, I have to hate Ohio State, but boy, I don't nitpick it necessarily to the degree, like, it's a fine tooth comb with the hatred on certain things. Like, it's absolutely crazy. Like, the degree to which you're kind of investing your own kind of, your own kind of mental capital to hate something that much. And some of these people legitimately, think like, CM Punk's bad for the business. It's like, no, he's not. Like, and if he's turns into a commodity for the next 3 years, great. That's all I need. I don't need to see him every week. Like, let him come out and get the massive pop and get the crowd over, and we're happy. Like, give him some of these feuds that, we want to see. There's always, like, irons in the fire. Maybe let him, put some younger guys over or whatever it might be, or not put them over, and it's perfectly fine. But like the discourse of it is just, it's absolutely insane.
Completely agreed.
Outside the ring on this one, I got Macho kind of taking on Flair. Yep.
So, I mean, I got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Let me throw this one at you next. We're in 1995. So this was, I don't know what. This is pretty early in Savage being in WCW. Hogan's relatively new. Obviously 2020 hindsight. Do you think Vince should have just held on to these guys for another couple years? Like, was it better to just rip the Band-Aid off and tell Savage and Flair and Hogan that they were too old and it was time for a new era? Or do you think, and I'm just throwing out an idea here, he should have figured out a way for these guys to stick around and be part-timers, or maybe not work house shows? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know if that would have been. I wonder how much of it was the backstage kind of politics too at this point. Like, so much of that, now that we know what we know, like some of their demands and the money and just how they were as workers, like it just didn't. Like, I think Vince was probably tired of it. And as a businessman, he's like, screw it. I don't need you. And so, like, my product is strong enough without you, which proved to be true. And so, so I don't know if it would have been better for the business or not. Maybe it wouldn't have been as good for Vince, but also, like, he might have seen the writing on the wall with some of it too. Like, yes, we say it a lot. We don't have to like some of the stuff, and we shouldn't like some of the stuff that he's been accused of. But, at this point, but also, like, it's hard not to say he wasn't able to see some of the trends and know what wrestling could be and do all those other things. So I don't know. It's tough. I don't think so overall, but who knows?
Yeah, I understand cutting bait and saying, look, I'm going with Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels and Diesel. I get that. But by letting those guys walk, primarily Hogan, then to a lesser degree Savage, Vince almost went out of business because of WCW.
Yeah.
Okay. So, it all worked out and everything's fine. Who cares? But remember that they were getting their asses kicked in 96 and into 97, like not making money. So none of that would have happened if, hey, let me figure out a way to keep Hogan and Savage happy. They may not be the model employees. They may be expensive, but if they go to my competitor, they could do me a lot of damage. Without Hogan going to WCW, nothing else happens. Okay, yeah. WCW probably, Turner would have pulled the plug on WCW before Hall and Nash ever got there. Keep that in mind. Nothing happens without Hogan going there. So Vince would have never had any competition if he simply said to Hogan, "You're my Babe Ruth. I want you here forever. And, I'm going to give you $1 million a year to work a handful of, television and pay-per-views."
Right.
And probably could have just rode that out and WCW would have gone away quietly. But all of this happened because of that. So again, it all worked out. Vince made the right decision, but not by much. Not by much.
Yeah. And that makes sense. Like, yeah, so we got a figure 4 leg lock. Flair using the rope as some leverage as the ref can't see it. Savage's dad yelling.
The patella could be shattered.
WrestleMania.
Yep.
Why was the crowd dead? Is it Easter weekend? Yeah. Is it Vegas? Is it ticket prices are expensive so you don't attract rowdy fans? What's the theory here?
It's hard to say. I think probably all of it. I think a big part of it is, sometimes it's just the venue itself. Like it's hard, when we get in, you got to have people be that much louder to make a arena be that loud. Living where I am now, like Lucas Oil is the closest kind of football stadium for me, and it has notoriously always had bad acoustics for concerts and everything. And so, there's that piece of it. But I think on more of the level here, it is a combination of, I don't know if it's, I don't want to say fair weather fans, but it may just be like, if I'm going to spend, $2,500 on my seat, I'm going to just enjoy it. I don't know if that's part of it. I think too, it's accessibility. Like, you and I in our shoot jobs and what we do, we know like getting to the West Coast is just difficult. Like it's just harder. It's different, versus doing things in the Midwest or the Northeast or whatever it is. Like, so for us, it's a city that not, when you're debating, do I want to go to Vegas? Like it's an investment to get there. Plus then your tickets on top of all of that. So I think that's a factor as well too. I don't know. It's hard. And we have not seen like, the data and the metrics on how that's breaking down. So I don't know.
Yeah. I went up there for some shows and my theory, and I'm not saying this is right. I believe, look, Vegas, West Coast, Seattle, Denver. I mean, they're just not the Chicago, New York crowds.
Right.
So I think that's probably a piece of it. You just get softer people. You don't get the rabid fan. My other, and I feel stronger about this one. Oh, elbow drop. That's got to be it.
Giant elbow.
Whoa. Savage has some blood maybe coming from his nose.
It looks like a shoulder.
Could have beat Flair. A win is not enough for Savage. Now it looks like he's going under the ring to grab something. A timekeeper's belt or timekeeper's bell.
The bell.
Jeff, I also just think they've priced some of the crazy nut job fans out of it. I mean, look, these prices are prohibitive to some people. So your pool of people that can afford to go to WrestleMania is smaller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's just smaller. So theoretically, you're gonna get
missed the double axe handle to the outside. Yep.
He hit his face
on the guardrail. That was just crazy. So yeah, I just think the prices. I mean, Jeff, I'm looking around, and I just there were. It just felt like a sea of casual fans.
Mm.
And of course, not everyone's a casual fan, but even, some of the people now that are buying the ringside seats, they just sit on their hands.
Yeah.
And it's like, go back and watch a WrestleMania from 10 years ago. And there'll be a guy dressed like Macho Man jumping up and down, losing his voice. Now it's someone just sitting there, looking like a dope, and it's just different, man. So It's just different. So anyway, so that's, Savage's dad just got hit.
Taking the elbow.
And now he's got Savage's dad's cane. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a big part of it. I just think you're and what do you do about that? Oh, hey, we know we can fill in a stadium for an average ticket price of $750, but no, let's make it an average price of $250 and leave millions of dollars on the table so that the crowd's a little bit louder. All right, so Flair with the win.
Hit him with the cane. Yep.
Dirtiest player in the game.
Well, and we don't know, but they have to be studying like why are the international crowds sound and act the way they do? And I've heard those tickets are even more expensive when you do all the conversions and stuff. Like, so why are those shows though sounding and getting the reactions they are? Like, is it just the fans aren't treating it the same way? Like, because that's a lot of times, like we weren't singing Randy Orton's theme until they did overseas. Yeah, we weren't singing AJ Styles' theme until they were overseas. Like, so I don't know.
It's odd, man. It's odd, but I hope it was just expensive tickets Easter weekend on the West Coast.
Yeah.
But I you want these, the fans add so much to it. You want these crazy, rabid fans singing music and going nuts and getting on their feet for false counts. And
yep. That's what it boils down to. Yeah.
Jeff, odd way to end a pay-per-view. The heel wins by cheating. The babyface getting carried out by his dad.
Your comments are not warranted right here.
You sound like you have
like the storyline makes sense. Like, why wouldn't Savage save his dad?
I do too, but not for these two people.
Just an odd way to finish a pay-per-view. It's like, okay, now I'm going home.
Yeah, and we get
like perhaps this shouldn't have been the main event. Like, right? Just again, I'm just like and I know heels win sometimes, but it's like, okay.
Flair hit him pretty good with that cane.
He sure did. He sure did.
I don't think that's a worked cane. Yeah.
All right, let's get to the aftermath.
Ho! It's time for the aftermath.
What'd you think?
It was all right. The match itself, again, I feel like we have a lot of like the match was good, not great, and another weird ending. Like that just seems to be our theme lately for some reason. But overall, though, it's pretty good. So it was fine. It was nothing to complain about. I guess that's the best way to look at it. Aftermath on this one. So like we said, it does start to make sense. You start to see the bigger picture when you realize that this one, it was not a one-off. They had a rematch at Bash at the Beach 1995. You had Hogan and Vader involved in that one. It just more stuff, brawls, chair shots, really good promos as well too. Really continue throughout the year, and then you had of course the Dungeon of Doom versus the Hulkamaniacs story taking over WCW, which not great. Eventually, they would feud over the WCW World Heavyweight Championship in 1990 or late 1995 into 1996, and then finally winning the title at World War III, November 1995. It was that 60-man battle royal, and then again at Super Brawl 6 in 1996. And so, really, this feud, and kind of them having their back and forth, was just a big part of WCW at the time. Lots of physicality, lots of storytelling, lots of good stuff. And so, and one of the things I read here said the attack on Angelo Poffo is still remembered as one of WCW's most effective heat segments of the pre-Nitro era. So interesting way to look at it. I think this was the first in a long series of matches between them. And so, taking that into account, but this was the first. You got to start somewhere. So Savage is 8. Ric Flair was 20, in 1995. You have 4 stars on this one, though. Intense storytelling and physicality that both veterans brought to the match. Personal animosity stemming from Flair's attack on Savage's father. Added emotional depth. The match, kind of culminated in a dramatic finish and using his cane. So, just kind of interesting. Nothing too crazy. I'll kind of turn it to you, though, for, they 4 stars, but, not knowing where this would go after this. But what are you thinking for it right now, though?
I got this at a 5. I mean, it was fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but the match was fine. Dirty finish. We're continuing the feud. Get the old man involved. Okay, but that's how you're ending the pay-per-view. Not a fan. How about you?
Yeah, hard to go home after that one, and kind of feel good about it with Flair winning. I guess it is Flair, but that's fine. Yeah, I'm at a 5 as well. Like, it just doesn't feel up to some of these other ones we've watched the last couple weeks. It just kind of, I don't know. It just, something feels off. And so, but it was still, maybe because it wasn't it's a little bit more intense, but it just didn't look as good with both guys out there. So I don't know if maybe that's the case. And so, but yeah, overall, it was fine, but I would not go out of my way to rewatch this one. Yep.
Yeah. Next week, Cactus Jack and Sandman.
Back to ECW. Yeah, we got that happening, and
that match will be a little different than the one we just covered.
Yeah, we got quite, and then we've got some SummerSlam. We're on the road to SummerSlam at that point, so some things happening. So we got some good stuff happening.
Good. Well, another one in the books.
Yep.
Appreciate everyone listening, and we'll see you next week on an all-new episode of The Payoff.